So, as a tiny reminder, the game of Mind Worlds is initially based on psychological theories, and the first one of them was Plutchik's wheel. That's where all these different colors come from, all these different emotions. You have this wheel of 8 emotions, and all of the effects are kind of based on these, and on the relationship they have to one another. So you have joy and sadness, which are the opposites, trust and disgust, fear and anger, and surprise and anticipation. So you have all these 8 emotions. And now with the dynamic skill theory, the third set, and continuing onward set after set, we are going to introduce some new dual emotions. So these are emotions that are mixes of these primary ones. So with the dynamic skill theory, we are going to care about the primary dyads, that's how they're called. It means the emotions that are closest to one another. So if you look at this first card, it's a mix of joy and trust. So it has these 2 colors, which are neighbors on the wheel. With the set after this one, we are going to care about secondary dyads, meaning ones that have a gap in between. So they are not the closest neighbors, but they have one gap. The next set, they're going to have 2 gaps, and the set even after, they're going to be direct opposites. And then we go back to primary dyads, secondary dyads, tertiary dyads, opposites, etc., etc., etc. So for the dynamic skill theory, since it's the first time that we introduced that, we are going to deal with the primary dyads. So we created 8 cards that are these combinatory emotions, these dual emotions. And so without further ado, the first one is the rose, which is a combination of joy and trust. So they all have a unique type, here it's a bloomer, and they also have a unique requirement. So it's the same for all of them, it's the same template for all of them. So basically it states that in order to play this card, you need to have no bloomer in the mind. So bloomer is this type, so you need to not have any other of this type in the mind. And you need to have at least 2 plants, 2 slug, or 1 of each in the mind. Meaning that if you are a yellow deck, you can play it once you have 2 plants in the mind. If you are a green deck, you can play it if you have 2 slugs in the mind. But if you are a deck that has joy and trust, so yellow and green, you can play it also if you have only 1 of each, so if you have a plant and a slug. Once again, I'm trying to explain stuff in a convoluted way, but basically that's how it works. You don't have another of this type in the mind, and you have either 2 plant, 2 slug, or 1 of each. And every future card like that will have the same template, meaning that even if you don't have both colors, you can still play the card. It's a bit harder to play it, and if you have both colors, it's easier to play the card. So, the effect of the rose, drawn by Nair made this, by Nair, a wonderful slug cuddle around the rose. Its effect is draw cards, get time counters, and gain influence until you have as much as the opponent. So all of these effects are based on what these 2 colors can do. So here we did have some effects that basically made it so you go up to a certain level. And so here this card, what it does is it cranks it up to the maximum. So you're gonna draw cards, get time counters, and gain influence until you have as much as the opponent. So before playing this card, you probably want to play most of your cards to use all your time counters. And if you're behind in influence, it's even better. So it's kind of a way for you to catch up. The next one is Amalgam, drawn by Anya016. And so the effect is, so it's a combination of trust and fear, so the 2 green colors. Its effect is static. Link this row and column. Thoughts can only enter the mind on top of a linked thought. So link is, as you might have noticed by now, these dual emotions have the special effect, the special new mechanic that these 2 colors have. So these 2 colors have been given link with this new set. With the dynamic skill theory, we gave trust and fear the new mechanic link that allows them to link thoughts in the mind. And for every of these different dual cards, they are gonna have the special mechanic that their two colors have. So here you're gonna link this row and column. So if you remember, every thought that's on the same row as this card and on the same column are gonna be linked. And then it states that thoughts can only enter on top of a linked thought or a linked chamber. So as long as this card is in the mind, every new thought that you or your opponent play can only enter in these different spots. So all the rest of the mind becomes kind of locked out. And so it makes it so you kind of have, among your 6 chambers, you have 4 that you can now put stuff inside, and your opponent only has 2. So it really creates a dynamic where you know where your opponent is going to place their thoughts, and the rest is really locked away. So that's the power of this card. Next one, we have Scattered Magic, drawn by Poplio Person. So most of these artists are on DeviantArt. There's probably going to be some links down below. And so it's a mix. So this dual card is a mix of fear and surprise. And it has a Machiavellic effect. Let's put it that way. The effect is static. After players draw cards, they discard the same amount. And this doesn't state that it happens after they draw cards from effects. Meaning that even when you draw for turn, if you draw 1 card for turn, you're gonna have to discard 1 card. So this Scattered Magic might end up being the most egregious card, the most egregious dual emotion card from this new set. It's a very dangerous one, it's a very controlly one, but it makes a lot of sense, since it's the mix of the 2 most controlly colors, which are fear and surprise. So I'm looking forward to see it played, but yeah, it's gonna be a terrible experience for the person against it. Next, we have The Lost, which is a vagabond. It's been drawn by Uncanny Gel, amazing drawing once again, and its effect is static. After a cosmic or faceless thought enters the mind, swap it with a card from their owner's hand. So it's kind of the swap lord of this game. So this means that we do have some swapping effects since the first set. I really like these effects. And basically it makes it so you can reuse the cards that you like. You can swap them back and forth from your hand to the mind. But what it means to swap is basically, let's say I play a cosmic thought. It enters the mind. As it enters, so its effects are gonna happen, and then I'm gonna bring it back to my hand, and I'm gonna put another card in its place. So the new card that comes from my hand, its effects are not gonna happen, it's just gonna be there. And if my opponent plays a cosmic or a faceless, then I'm gonna choose which card it gets replaced by in the mind. It doesn't allow me to see their hand, but I can just pick 1 card at random and swap it with it. So it's an effect that's really, really good if you have a deck that's all about swapping. And otherwise, it really gives you a lot of options for whenever you play a cosmic or a faceless thought. It really offers you a lot of opportunities to change what's in your hand and what's in the mind. So really like this card. The next one is Forgotten Traveler. So drawn by Kohav Musar, which has a slightly different name on DeviantArt, but the link's gonna be down below. And so it's a mix of sadness and disgust. The previous one was a mix of surprise and sadness. So this is sadness and disgust. We are slowly going around the wheel, basically, with these different cards. And so this has the following effects. Static. If chosen type enters the train, if there are 4 or less turns, silence it. Otherwise, shackle opponent this turn. So basically, as it enters, you're going to choose a type. Maybe you choose Fluff. Then, whenever a Fluff enters the train of thoughts, if there are 4 or less turns, you're going to silence it. So its effect is not going to happen. Otherwise, so if the Fluff enters and there's more than 4 turns, then the opponent is going to be shackled. So it's not going to be able to play anything else for the rest of this turn. So, a really powerful card. If you noticed, none of these dual emotions gain influence. So they have very powerful effect. They are pretty much as hard to play as intense thoughts, close to as hard to play as intense thoughts, but they do not gain influence. They just have a crazy effect. So this one is really powerful. It does what Sadness and Disgust does. It shuts down the opponent and brings the end of the game closer, way faster. Next one is the Conqueror, which is a mix of disgust and anger. So its effect is static. If a new type enters the mind, their owner loses 1 influence per number of types in the mind. So, really good card. And it's a card that you probably want to play with a deck where you have very little, not a lot of types. You probably aren't gonna play Fluffs in this deck. And you are only gonna play your 2 colors, maybe not even. Maybe you're only gonna play anger and have this on the side. Because basically, let's say it's in the mind, and you have a fluff that enters. Let's say there aren't any other fluff in the mind. As it enters, your opponent is gonna lose 1 influence per number of types in the mind. So now there's a fluff, so it's gonna be 1. There's gonna be this one, which is a worm, so it's gonna be 2. And probably there's gonna be 3 or 4 other types. So your opponent is gonna lose 6 influence just because it entered. So it's not the most egregious effect for these new dual emotions, but it's one that really disincentivizes your opponent from playing a lot of different types. Next one is Swift Silk, drawn by Nathan Howe. Once again, probably link in the description. So it's a dual card of anger and anticipation. Its effect is as follows. If you have more thoughts in hand, opponent promise 2 cards. Otherwise, you replace 3 thoughts in the mind. So if you have more thoughts, more thoughts in the mind, meaning that you have the advantage in the mind, the opponent is gonna promise you 2 cards, meaning that they're gonna show you 2 cards they have in hand, and in their next turn, they have to play them. Otherwise, they have to discard 2 cards. So that's what happens if you have more thoughts in the mind. Otherwise, if you don't have more thoughts in the mind, you're going to replace 3 thoughts in the mind. So you're going to move thoughts on top of others 3 times. Meaning that you're probably going to take the advantage in the mind really fast with this effect. So its 2 effects, the first one, the promising, is from anticipation, the second one, replacing, is from anger. And the overall effect that states if you have more thoughts, do X, otherwise do Y, it's the new mechanic that both of these colors have. So it's a fairly decent effect, it's not egregious. It's really good. It's a card that's probably easier to play than any of the intense cards of these 2 colors. And yeah, it seems to work fine. And the last one, the last dual emotion, but we have one last card after that. The last dual emotion is Winged Flora, which is a mix of anticipation and joy. So we are now reaching the end of our circle of Blue Chick's Wheel. And so it's drawn once again by Anya016, and its effect is static. If you gain, surface 1 card from your deck, then pre-play 1 or less chill thoughts. So the way it works, if this card is in the mind and you gain influence, you're going to look through your deck and you're going to put a card from your deck on top of your deck. So that's what surface does. Then you're going to pre-play 1 or less chill thought. So in your hand, you may, if you want, put one of your chill thoughts on the side and it's going to be played as a slow card basically. So these 2 things are going to happen if you gain influence. So it's going to really snowball out of control. So Winged Flora is a slow card, so it can't happen quite as fast as you might want to. But once it's here, it can snowball out of control really fast. Which is kind of what Joy does. And in addition to snowballing, it also allows you to choose which next card you're gonna get. So if you create a deck yourself, you might create a deck that has cards that have a lot of gains and with a lot of chill cards. So when you manage to bring Winged Flora, you will be able to kind of chain her every turn, to use her effect every turn, which is pretty strong. And finally, so we went through all the dual emotions, and here comes the last card. So in the Foresight model, we had the Shapeshifter as a card, which is an entirely white card. And now, here comes the first fluff, drawn by Nick Jay-Z, which is an all-color card. So if you noticed, all the dual emotions, they are strong thoughts. So you have chill, strong, intense. All the dual ones, they are strong. And this one, all color, is chill. So it's a fluff, normal speed, and it has all colors. And it has a special requirement, which is that there are 4 or more fluff in the mind. And this card is not in the mind, so you can only play the first fluff if it's not already in the mind. And there are at least 4 fluffs in the mind. And it has, since it's all colors, it has the ability, the mechanic, that every color has, which is merge. So as it enters, you're going to be able to merge 0 or more fluffs. So once again, as a reminder, to merge a card, so you're going to look in the mind, and let's say there are 5 fluffs. You can take any number of them, maybe let's take 3 of them, and you're going to put them underneath this card. So that's how you merge them. And then its effect is static. If a fluff enters the mind, copy the effect of one merged fluff. So let's say it is in the mind, it merged a few fluffs. And then you have a new fluff that enters the mind, either from you or your opponent. When it happens, the first fluff can look into the fluffs it merged, and you can copy one of their effects, which is a fairly strong card. So it's basically the Fluff Lord. It's the first of them, the first fluff. So since fluffs are in every color, and when you get a randomized deck, you're pretty much guaranteed to have some fluffs, it can be played in randomized decks, but obviously where it would thrive is in decks that are pre-constructed, in decks that you build specially around the first fluff, because you want to have as many fluffs as possible in your deck, but you also want to have ways to protect them, because there are some cards that could select fluff as a type and shut them down. So you want to have ways to silence cards. You still want to have other types that are not fluffs that can help you achieve what you wish, but you want to have a lot of fluffs. So that's the last card for this set, for the dynamic skill theory. It was really fun to create all these cards. It has taken kind of a while to come to this point. First we researched the theory, then all the different elements inside of it that could lend themselves to new game mechanics. Then we went on to kind of divide it into new effects and new mechanics, and we had to look back on the previous sets to see what needed to be done outside of the dynamic skill theory. Then we have to create all the cards. In between, we updated the design of the game, the back and the front. Then we had to doodle all the cards. We had to test the effects to see what could work, what couldn't. There are still 1 or 2 effects that are gonna slightly change, probably. And the last step was to name them all. We also, because you probably noticed, but all the dual emotions have been drawn by other artists from DeviantArt, really talented peeps. And there are also some cards that I didn't show you, which are secret cards. It's cards that I leave for the Discord. They are only visible there. And also, I guess in the deck builder, they will be accessible. And so yeah, this whole set is going to be added to the decks on November 1st. And so all the randomized decks and the things that you can get on the Game Crafter, and that you can have access to on Tabletop Simulator, and playing cards that are all the places where you can play the game basically. On November the 1st, they will be updated with all these new cards. And probably before that, we will receive some decks with them, and try that out. We might even do some unboxing to see how some new decks with the total of the 3 sets look like. All these cards and all the information and everything, and a lot of more fun stuff are available on the Discord. We are slowly introducing new characters. There was K before, and you have 7 other characters that can be unlocked, with unique perks and ways for you to gain some kind of currency that could allow you to get some physical decks or to get some nice perks, and just to see where the game is going, to get a look at all the new cards, the secret ones, and the new mechanics and cards that will come in the next sets. We've already settled kind of on the theory for the 4th set, and I've started to write down, to research and to write down some potential mechanics. And so yeah, have a nice day.